We've just been to Nottingham for a couple of days to visit some friends. It's about 3.5 hours drive from our home in Cardiff. And on the way back, we stopped at a small village called Lutterworth. And Lutterworth is just south of Leicester. It's in what's called Leicestershire. And it's just north of the bigger town called Rugby, which is a bit famous for sports fans, and a little bit to the east of Coventry. Well, we're in Lutterworth, and it's just down the road from Rugby, as you can see by that sign in the background on this busy roundabout, and it's near Coventry, Leicestershire. And one of the first things you see as you come into the town is this early jet prototype, and this was one of the very first jet prototypes ever built, and it was developed by Frank Whittle, who here in Lutterworth. Some very historic buildings in Lutterworth. This is St Mary's Church, still going, an Anglican church of course. These buildings here are very old, and this building here dates back to the 16th century. It was a tavern back then. It stopped being a pub about 50 years ago. This is the Shambles Tavern, and you can tell by the thatched roof and the general design of it that this is a Tudor building. If you go inside, there's very low ceilings. So this building's about 500 years old. And this is the town hall, built in 1836. And according to the plaque on the outside, originally the ground floor was a corn exchange, and this reflects that the economy of the Midlands was agricultural. It was only in the first half of the 20th century that high-tech industries such as jet engines started to become a factor here. And this is the main street of Lutterworth. There's some modern buildings, but a lot of this would have been here in the late 1880s. Well, here we are in St Mary's, Lutterworth. It's an ancient church going back to the Middle Ages, and behind me you can see a mosaic which was created in the 15th or 16th centuries, and over on this side there's another mosaic from about the same period which has been touched up a little. And we're going to walk down towards the font. So this is the font. It's a Victorian era font. So it was probably here by the 1880s, but there is this one here which was donated back to the church in the 1850s. And this one is supposedly from the Middle Ages, or most likely from the Middle Ages. So one of either this font or this font would have been where my grandfather Albert Amner was christened or baptized, probably not terribly long after he was born in July 1882. And over on this wall there's a list of rectors of this church, St Mary's Lutterworth, and you can see the rector at the time would have been this guy, Reverend T.H. Tarleton. He was here from 1879, but interestingly, one of the rectors of this church is John Wycliffe, from 1374 to 1384. John Wycliffe, of course, is famous for translating the Bible into English. And so this is a very historic church, going back a very long time. And no doubt this is where my grandfather's parents were married in the very early 1880s. This is a lithograph of St Mary's Church in 1861, and you can see the side aisles aren't there, or there's just a transept, and a false ceiling has been built which conceals the mosaic, which is now visible. But this is almost certainly how the church would have looked when my great-grandparents were married here and my grandfather Albert was baptized. And on the right-hand side of the lithograph, you can see a plaque, and here's a photograph of this plaque, which is now in a different location, and it features John Wycliffe, and he's teaching people, and you can see the scriptures very prominent on this plaque. The tapestry on the wall was made to celebrate the millennium in Lutterworth, but this framed piece here is actually the remnants of a cope that was used, or that's a vestment which was used by John Wycliffe. You can see it hasn't suffered the ravages of time terribly well. Well, it's a cold day in December here at St Mary's Church in Lutterworth, and you can see the church building behind me and a lot of gravestones in the churchyard. So I'll just go all the way around. We have had a bit of a look for any Amner gravestones, but I'm fairly sure the family wasn't really wealthy enough to spring for one of these nice slate gravestones. So we'll probably come back in summer and have a bit of a better look.